Alright, so what we're gonna do here today is we're gonna make a tag. Now, what I normally do is open up thing in Photoshop, you know, same old, same old. I use as a size is about 400 by 200 pixels, and first step, of course, paste in your render, resize it. I use stocks generally. And the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to start smudging. We're gonna smudge the background. Now I break up my smudging into two different layers. First I smudge the background, as you can see, and it's a lot different than all those trees and stuff you see. And then I smudge the sides of the render, or focal, stock, whatever. You're just gonna smudge right along the edges, blend them in, get a good thing going there. Bad at this first time, yeah, okay. Anyway, next we're gonna apply the image and use a filter. It's going to be filter, it's going to be spatter. You can use whatever settings you want for spatter. I generally used 14 and 18. Not going to actually do that again, it'll mess it up. Alright, then you're going to start tossing in some wireframes. Now, for wireframes, I find they work well on the edges of your focal. Kind of smooths it into background and other C4Ts you might be using. So you're going to go, well, this is just, I'll show you what a wireframe is, because I have quite a few of them actually. Wireframes. Alright, here it is. Wireframes. They're kind of like black and white, and you usually just end up setting them up to multiply, but with my case, a lot of them are gray, so I usually set them to soft light. And so you can see that right here is it flows from here up his arm. Then you're gonna I added another one up by his shoulder, and then one over here. Pretty much just setting it out so it looks like he's popping out of the tag off the sides through here. Gives it a good focal towards the body itself. Then you start tossing in some C4Ds. Since I wanted my effects to be along his arm, that's where I started adding in C4Ds. He's coming off his hand and off his shoulders, and I just kept with that flow going with all these C4Ds. Linear dodge, screen, whatever you need to make it so that the colors aren't too bright, but are just bright enough that they don't look horrible. They look good. Gives it flow. You don't want to overpower your focal. You want to make it so that it all flows together. And I just kept adding a few more C4Ds in. I added a lot of C4Ds actually. I used blue and green because they work well together. They're good colors. The blue and green works well with the background. As you can see, there's a nice turquoisey blue-green going on, and that works well. So you throw in some of those, and for here, see, it's hard to tell what is actually going on, but it's right here. I'll zoom in. That's actually, see how it gets a little bit blue? What I did was I took a blue brush, soft round brush, and I brushed, that's probably not it, I'm just gonna leave it just a pointer. I brushed around this area right here, and I Gaussian blurred it, and I set it to linear dodge. Yeah, set it to linear dodge, 100% opacity. So it gives it a nice blue color, which goes well with what's going on here. I duplicated that layer and set the opacity to 48, so it wasn't too overpowering. But you still get that nice blue going on to where these blues effects are, because as an effect goes, usually will color whatever's around it. So you want to give it good depth, so you add in some color. Now I did that again with the green down by his hand. See, it was a little bright, and I wanted it to be more green, so I just colored it. See, there's a linear dodge layer, which was bright, and then I set it to color because I wanted it more green. Once again, it does the same thing, because good flow and depth by giving your effects color over the actual focal. What I did here was I just applied the image on a new layer, and I used the darken tool. The burn tool is what it's called. Use burn, and I burned the edges. I burned around here so you can't see it too much because I want the focal to be right over here or along the arm in his face. I burned the edge over here and over here. And then on a new layer, I took a soft round brush and I used black and I brushed the edges and lowered the opacity. Once again, just darkening the edges. Same thing here. Not the same thing actually. I did a soft round brush again, but with white. Give it some good lighting. I'm running out of words. My first time. Give it some lighting, because the lighting coming from above, as you can see right here on his face. It's usually where the lighting's coming from above him. You can see it on the armor too, to a degree. And then I just intensified the lighting, and then started adding lighting from the actual C40s again. I added a nice blue on screen, Gaussian blurred it, and then a green down here. This gives it good lighting from the top, which is the natural lighting, and then lighting from the actual effects that I gave it. And then sharpened it. I applied image on a new layer, sharpened, just did filter sharpen, nothing too fancy, and then erased where I didn't want it. I didn't want it around here, I didn't want it over here or here. I just want it focused on the armor, the effects, and his face. Alright, then I started throwing in gradient maps. That's not what it was. Alright, it's a black and white gradient map. What I usually use for black and white for is darkening tags, devoiding it of color, so getting rid of color, and luminosity. Luminosity increases the contrast between your light and dark spots. As you can see here, it's kind of gray, not gray, but it's kind of bland. It's not very sharpened and contrasted, but as soon as you throw that in, bam, right on the edges, you see it's a bit darker, and it gets a bit darker along where the dark spots are and lighter where the light spots are. I threw in, just to give it more color, is a soft light of this variety. I just don't know what to call this, blue to orangey, but it gives it a nice, just a nice blue color that goes with the effects, and eventually it did undarken some of the sides, but that's going to be fixed later. Once again, just gives it a nice effect, a nice blue-green effect. The coloring is a lot better now. At least I think it is. I think it works well with all the effects that are going on. It gives it nice color, and mostly for the face is what I use that for. And then this was just another black and white and luminosity to darken it a bit more. And then just darken the edges, applied image, burned. This was actually a topaz sharpen. I topazed it so it looked a bit better. See, it's kind of blurry, and then as soon as you topaz it, pops out more. And then the final thing I did was, actually I gave his eyes a soft round brush once again, a tiny soft round brush, Gaussian blurred it, gave it yellow, and set it to linear dodge. And that makes its eyes pop out of, because everything else is about blue and green, and then that yellow pops it out, so it gives it more of an intense kind of look going on. Thanks for bearing with this horrible tutorial. This is just a test, really. I just want to see how this would work out. As you can see, the tag itself was decent. I don't usually throw in text because I'm very bad at text. You don't even want to see how bad I am at text. But once again, thank you for listening and watching. I'm probably not going to even post this one, so if I do, it's a miracle. Alright, goodbye.